College football fans, week one is here. The Coach and Crew Show proudly presents to you College Football Weekly covering week one. I am your host, Charlie Krause. Before we get started, do me a couple favors, please. Hit the like button, follow me back, and then when you see fit, go ahead and comment along. We're going to jump right into things, but first, our sponsor is Whalehook Agency. For any and all promotional needs, visit whalehookagency.com for all promotional needs and considerations. All right, week one's here. Huge show on tap for you. Hopefully you're here for the long haul and like our videos and subscribe to our shows. Guys have different special guests each and every week. We're going to start it off with special guest number one, James Williams of the LA Daily News. I'm going to cut and splice in different parts of our conversation we had earlier this week. Basically, UCLA has announced they're going to play all three quarterbacks this weekend against Coastal Carolina. So we're going to hear his takeaway right here.
There's probably very few occasions in which you're ever going to question an offensive move by Chip Kelly, but this one was kind of, where are we going? And so what I was telling fans when we were doing Twitter Space earlier this week was he's more or less just prolonged the quarterback competition. That's all that's really happened. And what he had said prior or earlier over the past week or so was he was going to name a starter, which obviously he kind of, only one quarterback can play on the field at a time. But then when he kind of followed up and said, Garbers will take the first snap, even that made it sound kind of loose to where, anything that happens after the first drive or first quarter is kind of up in the air on where he decides to go from there. UCLA will win. Oh God, I'm not ready for. Well, I think it goes back. I think UCLA will win because of their returning defense. I mentioned Latu. I mentioned the Murphy twins already. Another name to look out for, Darius Muasau is another one, and then they got a Cal transfer, Ofemi Oladipo, that's my best pronunciation of it, is a guy who looks like a stud and has a lot of excitement the same way when Charbonnet came through, but on the defensive side. So a lot of hype around him. He was named a starter today on the depth chart. So excited to see how he kind of comes about, but I think they have enough returners, 8 returners on defense, that I think it will kind of work out in their favor if the defense does well.
Today might be officially week one, Saturday, which is the big one, Labor Day weekend. But we've already had games this week, and we've already had games last week during week 0. And here's what already stood out to me and over the course of week 0 and through Thursday night. Number one, Notre Dame getting Sam Hartman from Wake Forest equals that thing is working already and already clicking. 42 points against the Naval Academy in Ireland. I know you can say, well, it's just Navy, but you still got to do it. You still got to show up. You still got to put up points. And they were clicking from the word go. That was impressive of a showcase that they put on in Dublin last week. Takeaway number 2 already, Nebraska. Oh, Jeff Sims. Poor Jeff Sims. Oh, gosh. Nebraska committed 4 turnovers and lost, I think it's their 18,372nd game in a row of less than 1 score of a difference. You're up 10-3. All you have to do is not fumble the ball. You fumble the ball. They tie the game 10-10 on a 4th down conversion. There might have been a false start on the play as well in Minnesota, but that's a different story said. And then Sims throws yet another interception. Game-winning field goal. Minnesota wins 13-10. Nebraska snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. This poor Nebraska. And then taking away number 3, here is the current situation in Florida. Yeah, it's a dumpster fire. Did they even have a fall camp? Was the quote that I liked the most from the crew members. All right, that was just not what I was expecting. I personally got the pick right with Utah, but I was not expecting what I saw out of Florida. So that's already week 0 and Thursday night coming into action, and already different dynamics than you would think of what the season looks like so far. There's two games of the day, if you will, today, for as far as I'm concerned. One's on Saturday, one's on Sunday. Saturday, we got the border rival of North Carolina, South Carolina, where they met a couple of years ago in the Duke Mayo Bowl with Shane Bieber as their head coach. Now they're kicking off the season in Charlotte, same location, to open up the season. And is this offensive firepower versus offensive firepower? Because the biggest question coming out of last season was, what can North Carolina do to stop anybody on defense? All right. So Gene Chiswick's going to have some questions to answer. And I guess it starts with Spencer Rattler and Shane Beamer's offense. So that's going to be awesome to see. And then Drake May, people are putting him at minimum top 5 for next year's NFL draft. Some people might even have him as high as like 1 or 2. I'm not debating where he should rank. I'm just saying that his name is being thrown out there. So this game could be a high-scoring shootout of a game, and just everybody's just loading up on each other. And it should be hopefully a really fun watch and hopefully a really exciting battle. So if you're looking at the over-unders, it sounds like you should take the over. The other game of the day, it's on Sunday. It's a rematch from last year where a blocked extra point was the difference maker when Florida State went into New Orleans and beat LSU. Well, now Florida State and LSU meet in Orlando. So technically, neither one of them were home games, but both of them were close to the other's location. Where in the other game, I was briefly talking about the offenses. Now I'm going to briefly talk about the defenses. You got some of the best in the country lining up on the defensive line for both teams. For Florida State, Jared Verse, preseason, well, he was my pick for preseason defensive player of the year out of the ACC, coming off the defensive line for Florida State. LSU, same thing. Mekhi Wingo there. Harold Perkins and Mason Smith, all three. Now, one of them was a linebacker, keep in mind. But still, these defenses are top-tier defenses, and these guys specifically are top-tier studs. So now how's Jordan Travis and Jaden Daniels going to handle some heavy pressure on an opening Sunday night where the entire nation is watching one game and one game only? That's going to be a statement win that's going to be great in November for somebody. And it's not, hopefully it won't be a bad loss. I still remember a couple of years ago that I believe it was Notre Dame, Texas game. The final score was like 39-38 or something like that. And we all thought, holy crap, two of the best teams in the country just played each other. And I think they both went to having a 6-6 and 5-7 season. So we'll keep it with a grain of salt. But if things project as we expect them to, this could be a huge statement victory for coming times if someone's battling for that 4 spot in the top 4 playoffs as we move forward. So look forward to that game as well. This week's hidden gem, we're going to travel down to Dallas for SMU quarterback Preston Stone. I was a huge Mordecai fan when he was in SMU the past couple of years and just putting up some serious numbers. And now I'm really excited and curious to see how he's going to do in Wisconsin. So that's the preface. Rumor mill has it the people in Dallas and all SMU faithful think this kid is going to be even better. So tonight or today, when they play Louisiana Tech, that's going to be my litmus test to see how Preston Stone can do. Is he worth the hype? Is he not? I'm going to buy in early and say yes against Louisiana Tech, and if he can put up some numbers, and then we'll really get a true measuring stick next week when he faces Oklahoma. Saturday, we started off average. We went 2-2 with wins by or covers by myself and Byron. Notre Dame won big. USC did not get the cover, even though won big. So Byron got the win. Tantor took the L on that one. Tantor goes for the hard stuff. He just does. And then Ryan, unfortunately, Vanderbilt was infuriating, and Hawaii covered instead of Vanderbilt covering. We made up for it, though, on Thursday night. Ryan covered big with UCF. I think they're still scoring. Tantor showed how bad Florida actually was and exposed that. Utah covered. And then officially, Nebraska officially covered, even though we've already talked about that and that hot mess of just losing again. So today's selections of Money Talks. Let's see how we did. We're 5-2 as a combined unit on the season so far. Here's each of our number ones. Ryan is taking Tulane -6 over South Alabama. Tantor, he's going big again. 2.5 over of LSU over Florida State. Why pick an easy game when you can pick the toughest game on the schedule? And then I'm taking SMU -20.5 over Louisiana Tech, while Byron in his hometown of Liberty Bibberty and new head coach Jamie Chadwell is taking over the Fighting Scott Leffler's Bowling Green at -8.5. There's our picks. If you want to use ours to help make yours, go right ahead. We ask that you give us 10% return. If you lose because of us, then hey, it's your fault for listening to us. So there you have it. That's our section of Money Talks this week. Saturday game picks, everybody's favorite section as we close out our first full show of the season. Let's get right into things. SMU hosts Louisiana Tech. 86% of the Crew Nation is on the Mustangs. I also am part of that 86. Jamie Chadwell opens up his tenure at Liberty against another Coach and Crew favorite, Scott Leffler of Bowling Green. Coach and Crew Nation is heavy on Liberty this year, and so am I, at least on this week's game over Bowling Green. Speaking of coaches, Coach Prime, play my theme music, is on the road in Fort Worth with TCU. Right now, Crew Nation is big on TCU, and I'm taking them as well. 36% are on South Florida, while 62% of us are on Western Kentucky. I think Western Kentucky has just got offensive firepower this year, and they're going to score lots of points in a lot of games. They could end up, and this is a bold statement, Cotton, scoring the most points in the country per game average than anyone else. We'll find out. Out on the left coast, future Big Ten member Washington Huskies, and this is going to be one of the better games of the afternoon. It's playing Boise State. 86% of us are on Washington. I'm on Washington. 14% of us are on Boise State. The Fighting John Aidents are gonna always bring it. They're always a good watch, especially early on. Apparently, this is my sleeper pick of the weekend. North Texas hosts California, where 86% of us were on the Golden Bears, but I took North Texas. Washington State opens up their season on the road at Colorado State, where 79% of us, including myself, took Washington State Cougars. As a tribute to the Houston Oilers, the Houston Cougars open up their season and their first year of the Big 12 against UTSA, the San Antonio Roadrunners. And I'm on San Antonio. I'm big on that, but can't wait to see this one just simply for a throwback tribute to the Houston Oilers type of look. 57% of us are on the Cougars. Army opens up play in the Sun Belt at La Monroe. Fun Row, as they nickname themselves, receive 14% of our vote. I'm with Army and 86%. And let me tell you, folks, Army knows how to bring it from the fan point of view. They're going to have tanks. They're going to have Apache helicopters there. It's going to be awesome. One of the games I'm more looking forward to watching, Wyoming hosts Texas Tech. Yeah, I'm part of the 86% of having Texas Tech with the win, but that doesn't mean I'm not looking forward to watching this game. How is the next year going to look with Willie Fritz's Tulane Green Wave coming off of their huge, impressive win over USC? Now, start the season, they host South Alabama. 93% of us think the Green Wave will continue to, roll, crush, whatever a wave does. In one of the primetime matches, it's North Carolina, South Carolina. Most of the Crew Nation is on South Carolina and Frank Beamer. I'm going to go with the Tar Heels and see how the ACC holds up against the SEC with 29% of the vote. The late one on Saturday night, Coastal Carolina travels to the Rose Bowl to take on UCLA. 64% of the Crew Nation has UCLA as the winners. Myself and a few others all are on part of Coastal Carolina. And then the game of the weekend, Florida State, LSU rematch from last year. 64%, including myself, are on LSU. 36% sees Florida State winning. 100% of us believes that this is, on paper at least, as the best game of the weekend. There you have it, folks. There's the show. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it. We're on multiple different platforms, and I'm also on TikTok. Though TikTok, their police and their piracy rules don't allow me to upload my own videos, which, okay, whatever. So if you'd like to follow me on that as well, feel welcome to, but those are different than all of these that you're watching here on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So give me your thoughts, like, follow me back, enjoy the weekend's actions, and look for my recap coming up after this week's games with my new top 25. Have fun and let's ride.